Hello everyone, my name is Zishan, and today we're gonna solve a few interesting questions from the very famous book by the author Irodov, and the name of the book is Problems in General Physics. This book is a recommended book for JEE preparations and has a lot of questions and is really a really good book, and that is why I have taken up this book, and we're gonna solve a few questions from it. And what I'm doing is I'm randomly choosing a few questions from the book, and in case you want a particular question, you can obviously tell me in the comments, and let's start with it. So the first question that we're going to look at is as a question where we have two particles which were at the same distance, which were at the same point in a gravitational field. One of them is moving with a velocity v1 equals to 3 meter per second. The other one is moving with a velocity of 4 meter per second. Both of them in opposite directions. And what we have to do is, since the gravity is acting downwards, we have to find the distance between these two particles when their velocities during their fall velocities become perpendicular to each other. So we are going to name these velocities v2 dash and v1 dash. The point is that these two velocities are perpendicular to each other. V2 dash is perpendicular to v1 dash. So the key to the problem is that the dot product of vectors v1 dash and v2 dash, it's going to be 0 because both of them are perpendicular to each other at this point. The distance between these 2 points is to be found, right? Let's name this x12, the distance of the first particle with respect to the second particle. This is the key. And another thing that we need to keep in mind is that the distance between these two particles can be calculated using x12 is equal to u12 t plus half a12 times t square. Where has this come from? This has come from the formula S equals ut plus half a t square. Everybody knows that equation. So x12 is going to be equal to u12 into t plus half a12 t square. These two things are the basics of how we're gonna approach it. I will solve you the problem. You note these two down, and then we'll go ahead. Okay. So first thing, v1 dash v2 dash vector form, okay? The dot product of it is 0. This implies that v1 plus a1t into v2 plus a2t. Both of these, a1 and a2, these are all equal to g, because gravity is the only acceleration, due to gravity is the only acceleration acting on these bodies. v1 and v2 were the initial velocities, the value of which we already know. So the dot product of these two quantities, it's going to be equal to v1 dot v2 plus g square t square, again taking up the vector forms, equal to, now these two here are initial velocities which are opposite in direction, so the value is going to be negative of the scalar product of these two velocities v1 and v2 plus, again these two are dot products, the dot products of opposite vectors is negative of the scalar product, so it's going to be minus v1 v2 plus g square t square, and which is finally equal to 0. Now this gives us the value of t, which is going to be equal to v1 v2 divided by g, the root of v1 v2 divided by g. So this is going to help us. Let us name it 1 and note it down, and then we'll go ahead with the second part of the problem. Okay, if you have any doubt, you can obviously ask me in the comments. So we have come at t is equals to v1 v2 root over g. Now I told you the key x12, it's going to be equal to u12 times t plus half a t square, a12 t square. So this implies that x12 is the required quantity, this is the quantity that we require, and u12, it's going to be equal to, u12 is the initial velocity, okay, initial velocity of the first vector with respect to the other one. v1 was the initial velocity of the particle 1 minus v2, which is the velocity of the other particle, but it's in the opposite direction. So we have put up a negative sign just to find u12 into t plus half a. Now here's the thing. a12 is the relative acceleration of the first particle with respect to the other particle, but both the accelerations, but the acceleration for both the particles is the same, which is g. So it's going to be 0 into t square. So this goes away. So we have v1 plus v2 x12, and the mod of it, it's going to be equal to v1 plus v2 mod into t, which is equal to v1 plus v2 into root over v1 v2 whole divided by g. Where is this factor coming from? This is the factor we calculated, t. From here we put it here. So the distance between these two objects is going to be v1 plus v2 root over v1 v2 divided by g. That's all. Put the values of the vectors v1 and v2 and here and g, and you'll get to the answer. That's all. This was an objective type question, as I think I remember it. It was an objective type question, and it has come directly from the book. So thank you, and subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. We're looking at interesting questions from the book. That's all for now. We'll meet in the next video. Bye bye.